Kia ora, my name is Whārei Lysander and welcome to Oho Ake Books. There's a lot of talk on the internet at the moment from intuitives and researchers and conscious awareness people about this idea of a divergent timeline happening in this moment in 2021. And you can see it. For those of us with eyes that can see this divergence in the timeline, where some people are taking a decision to go down a transhumanist path and others are looking at a more organic path. In relation to that experience, for me in my books and my own research over the years, there are 3 books that I've written, that 2 novels and 1 short story, that outline my own opinions on this process of divergence and paradigm shifts, and they're all very different because over the years my interpretation of information that's been coming in has changed my opinion about what is possible and what is plausible and what could happen. I mean, all this is potential. I look at all these situations in these books as potential timelines, and I also look at them as timelines that have happened in their own parallel universes as well. And the first book in that series that I wrote, of 3 books that I have that process of parallel timelines or dimensional shifts or paradigm shifts, was Sanctum. And in this book, my 2 main characters, Brody and Teal, enter into the inner worlds of the hollow earth. And when they get in there, they experience other dimensions that resonate on frequencies that are very different to the surface world. And these places that they go to in the inner worlds, in the hollow earth, resonate in dimensional pockets that eventually on the earth, as the surface of a planet goes through enormous earth changes, it takes about 50 years for the planet to settle down after those earth changes. When they return to the surface of the planet, the inner earth dimensional frequency has penetrated out of the crust, has come out of the crust onto the surface of the planet and permeated the entire planet, and has become as above so below. Both dimensional frequencies are on the surface and in the inner world, so you can go seamlessly between the 2 dimensions, on the surface and in the inner worlds. The next book that I wrote about the situation, the idea of a paradigm shift, was All Roads Lead to Parihaka, which is a short story that I wrote. This short story, I first had a vision of this back in 2003 when I got back to Aotearoa, New Zealand, from Matariki, my staff family. It gave me a very clear vision of this rebuilding of the settlement of Parihaka. Now, Parihaka in Taranaki, on the North Island, Te Ika a Maui in New Zealand, was a Maori, New Zealand Maori, Taranaki Maori and other tribes or iwi around the region came together to build a settlement of sovereign Maori people living in a town called Parihaka, who wanted to have their town, their sovereign lifestyle. They wanted to keep themselves as a Maori entity within the British colonial system. But the British colonial system said no way. So the British colonial system destroyed the pa, which is the settlement, pulled all the buildings down, took all the men away and put them all in prisons down in Otago, or Taku. And this happened in the 1800s, but this is the first instance that I know of where there was non-violent passive resistance against a tyranny. In this short story, a young man is guided to go back to Parihaka and build a new Parihaka as the world descends into a nuclear war that emanates out of the Middle East. Now, out of this new Parihaka is a paradigm shift that moves across the entire planet. This paradigm shift is one where the traditional cultures of the Māori people and the present day society come together to build a symbiotic relationship with the planet. And this is the community that's built there. And this energy, this mindset, this level of consciousness eventually permeates the entire planet. And the final book in that series that I wrote was a book called United, which is the sequel to Entwined. Now, I read David Icke's books on and some of his research into the Saturn, Moon, Earth matrix, with Saturn being the antennae broadcasting at a frequency band, the Moon being the broadcast station that captures that frequency band and fires it down to the Earth and creates the simulation, this archontic simulation. And in that book, United, there's a paradigm shift when the archontic force is defeated and the antennae, Saturn, the ice crystals are moved around in a very different way, so that the broadcast, this new paradigm shift of expansion of consciousness from source energy, is broadcast from Saturn to the Moon and to the Earth, and therefore changing the paradigm on the Earth, changing the frequency band, changing the simulation. And the human DNA picks up that energy band, that frequency band, and therefore changes the simulation, as much as the planet itself, the living library, picks up the same information, the same resonance, the same frequency, and also assists in changing the paradigm. Those are my three interpretations of the Divergent timeline. They're very different, and they've all changed over the years as new information has come in. I've discerned for myself, in my own personal opinion, where I see the timeline moving towards. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Mā te wā. I'll see you soon.